What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Empire on Deck, and I want to lead off by apologizing for two things. One, I know it's been a few days, but, sometimes life happens and you need to take a few days off as a mental reset, so that's what we did, but we're here to recap Friday night's action. And two, if you can hear yard work in the background, I apologize. There's yard work going on right outside the window in the room where I'm filming this, so if you hear it throughout this video, I apologize. But let's jump into Friday night's action. Or should I say we're starting with Friday afternoon's action, because the first game of the day was between the Pittsburgh Pirates and Chicago Cubs. And Shota Imanaga was on the mound for Chicago, and his career against the Pirates has been phenomenal. And this did not change on Friday, as he actually went 6 innings of no-hit baseball, having just 1 walk and 9 strikeouts. The only reason that he was pulled after 6 innings is because the Pirates were pesky and fouled off 31 of Imanaga's pitches, which drove his pitch count up, so they thought it was the best decision to pull him after 6 innings. Once they did, the Pirates took control. They won this game 2-0, both runs coming on a Brian Reynolds 2-run homer in the 7th inning, but it was the Cubs that actually out-hit the Pirates 6-3. The Pirates have won 7 of their last 9 games, but I do want to point out that even though the Cubs lost this one, like I said, Shota Imanaga's career against the Pirates has been nothing short of spectacular. In 5 career starts, he's got an ERA of 0.28, allowing just 1 run and only 13 hits in 5 starts combined. So Shota Imanaga was excellent once again, but it is the Pirates that come out on top, 2-0. The next game is the Diamondbacks and Phillies. There was a lot of pressure on the Phillies in this one, as they had lost 3 straight. They had gone 20 innings without scoring a run, which tied the Giants to lead off the season as the longest drought this season. That drought by the Giants will come up again later, but the pressure was on them as they hadn't been shut out for 3 straight games since 2010. And so, like I said, the pressure was on them to get on the board first, and they knew it. They scored 4 in the first inning off of Arizona's Michael Soroka, who has been great so far this season, and still settled down nicely in this one after the first inning. But the Phillies did jump on him in the first, scoring 4 runs thanks to a Bryce Harper double and a Brandon Marsh 3-run homer. Michael Soroka rebounded nicely after that first inning. He went 5 2/3, striking out 10. And I have to say, I know I've said it once after his first start, but the season that Michael Soroka has had so far, going 3-0 with a 2.87 ERA, is so refreshing. Because as somebody that watches the Atlanta Braves every day, I was a huge fan of Michael Soroka when he first broke into the league, and I thought that he was going to be the next great pitcher in the major leagues. And there was even a period, and you can call me crazy, where at that time, the 3 pitchers of note in Atlanta were Michael Soroka, Ian Anderson, who went on to be a World Series hero for Atlanta in 2021, and Max Fried. And there was something about those 3 that I really wanted to see them pitch together, because they actually were never in the rotation healthy together, which is something that frustrated me. But I saw something in the 3 of them that reminded me of, and you can tax me for this later, it reminded me of Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz. And I really wanted to see them all in the rotation together, and because of injuries, it never worked out. And after Michael Soroka's 2 Achilles injuries, he didn't quite look the same, and he bounced around to a couple organizations. Spent some time with the White Sox and the Nationals, but he seems to have found a spot in Arizona, and he's pitching extremely well. And not just Braves fans, but baseball fans who understand Soroka's story, it's so refreshing to see. 3-0, 2.87 ERA to start the year. So congratulations for him. So he settled down nicely after the 4-run first inning against the Phillies, and the offense in this one was led by Ketel Marte and James McCann, who had 2 RBIs apiece. And according to my notes here, I want to make a live correction, because this was Philadelphia's 3rd straight loss. So they did break the scoreless inning streak, but they have lost 3 in a row. So we have to keep an eye on what's wrong with the Phillies. They need to get Christopher Sanchez back on the mound immediately. Zach Wheeler is making progress. He's expected to make a couple more rehab starts before joining Philadelphia, but we'll see if they're able to get right. with that offense. I don't think it's that they're off. I just think things aren't quite clicking right now, and they'll figure it out. Detroit and Miami, two of the most exciting teams in baseball, at least in my opinion right now, with Kevin McGonigal on one side and the Miami Marlins kind of surprising everybody to start the 2026 season on the other side. But this was low scoring. The story in this one was Detroit's Kiter Montero. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He took the mound and gave Detroit 6 shutout innings, striking out 7. The Marlins managed just 2 hits in the game. This red-hot offense that they've had managed just 2 hits in the game, and all of the offense in this one came from a Spencer Torkelson single in the 2nd and a Javi Baez solo homer in the 5th. So this one, like the Pirates and Cubs, was low scoring at 2-0. The Los Angeles Angels jumped all over the Cincinnati Reds on Friday night, winning 10-2. Zach Neto hit his 5th homer, Josh Lowe hit his 2nd, but it was Jorge Soler, who is currently still on the field for the Angels after appealing his 7-game suspension for his role in the brawl against the Atlanta Braves. While he waits on that appeal, he's on the field, and it helped the Angels in this one as he blew the game open with a grand slam in the 8th inning. The Angels won this one 10-2 to improve to 7-7 on the season. Speaking of the 10-run club, the Toronto Blue Jays joined that club on Friday night. But before that happened, Ryan Jeffers did his best to propel Minnesota to a victory, going 3 for 3 with a homer and 3 RBIs, but his efforts were not enough, as a 5-run 4th inning propelled the Toronto Blue Jays to victory, led by Brandon Valenzuela's first Major League home run. The Blue Jays find their bats as they try to right the ship, 10-4, improving to 6-7 on the season. The Mets bats continue to struggle after the loss of Juan Soto for at least a couple of weeks, as they have now gone 17 straight scoreless innings. Again, I told you that the record on the year would come up again, that is now shared by the Giants and Phillies at 20. So we'll have to watch the first 4 innings of Saturday's game between the Athletics and Mets to see if the Mets can score and avoid having the longest streak of the season. But without Juan Soto, they are struggling. And it is the Athletics that have won 3 of 4 games. They scored 3 runs in the 9th to put this one away against New York and win 4-0. And it was JT Ginn for the Athletics that made a case for the rotation, as he went 4 innings, allowing just 1 hit. So it was the Athletics winning for the 3rd time in their last 4 games, blanking the suddenly lowly New York Mets 4-0. In the game against the Tampa Bay Rays and New York Yankees, Yandy Diaz and Chandler Simpson each drove in a pair of runs, including a Yandy Diaz homer. And it was the Tampa Bay Rays winning this one 5-3. And suddenly the New York Yankees, who just a few days ago was the best team in baseball with an 8-2 record, have lost 3 in a row. Moving on to the Atlanta Braves versus the Cleveland Guardians, and we'll talk about City Connect night here at the end a little bit more, but this was one, and the Atlanta Braves unveiled their City Connects on Friday night along with a lot of other teams. But the reason why I want to stop and talk about it here for a second is that the Braves kind of turned it into an unofficial 80s night, because these City Connect jerseys were heavily inspired by, much like their last City Connect jerseys were heavily inspired by the Hank Aaron era of baseball. This year's City Connect jerseys were heavily inspired by the Dale Murphy era of baseball, which was the 80s. So the jerseys are powder blue. They have the lowercase a. It's very inspired by that era. And so because it's the 80s and because they kind of unofficially made it an 80s night with the announcers talking about their favorite 80s movies and bringing up Dale Murphy, they brought Dale Murphy onto the field in a DeLorean. So I thought that was awesome. But once the game got started, the story of this game came in the back half, where in the 6th inning, the Atlanta Braves exploded, found their power, scored 6 runs in the 6th inning, led by 3 home runs by Ronald Acuna Jr., who finally got his first of the season. And earlier in that game, I think his previous at-bat, he had hit one to the track. He had almost gotten it, so you could feel it was coming. Then 2 batters later, Matt Olson hit an absolute missile. And then later in that same inning, of course, Michael Harris II joined in on the party. So 6 runs in the 6th inning, propelled by 3 homers. And Atlanta scored 10 of their 11 runs in the final 3 innings, the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th. They won this one against the Guardians, who made a valiant effort toward the end to score some runs and try to make it a game. Couldn't do it. The Braves won this one 11-5. We'll talk more about City Connects at the end. Baltimore versus San Francisco. The story in this one for me, it was San Francisco starter Landon Root. 6 innings, 5 hits, just 1 earned run. But for San Francisco, it was Casey Schmidt that went 3 for 5 with 3 doubles. And Jung-Hoo Lee had a homer and 2 RBIs, but Willy Adames also added a homer. And it was San Francisco winning this one 6-3. Gunnar Henderson did homer for Baltimore, but it wasn't enough as Baltimore, and notably Pete Alonso's struggles, continue. The story in Kansas City's 2-0 victory over the White Sox was 2 people. Chris Bubich, who went 7 shutout innings on the mound and set a new career high in strikeouts with 11, and Carter Jensen, who made his debut a year ago but is effectively a rookie for his hometown Kansas City Royals and hit his 3rd homer of the year to propel his hometown team, wearing their City Connect jerseys, to a victory 2-0. Speaking of the league's best record, who have suddenly lost 3 in a row, the Milwaukee Brewers find themselves in the exact same position as the New York Yankees, as they fell on Friday night to the Washington Nationals 7-3. Jake Bauers did contribute a homer and all 3 RBIs for the Milwaukee Brewers, but the suddenly red-hot James Wood and C.J. Abrams were too much for Milwaukee, who were wearing, you guessed it, their City Connect uniforms. James Wood went 4 for 5 with 2 doubles and an RBI, and C.J. Abrams went 2 for 3, also with a double and an RBI. Washington scored 4 in the 9th to take the lead and did not look back, and that is what led to Milwaukee losing 3 in a row. Walker Buehler looked really good for San Diego in their matchup against the Colorado Rockies, going 6 shutout innings, allowing just 3 hits. But this game was the Gavin Sheets show. 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, including the walk-off homer in the bottom of the 9th inning. And I have to say that the call that the announcer made on both home runs is my new favorite thing. He hits the home runs and the announcer yells, "Holy Sheets!" I love it. This game was another instance of City Connects that we'll get to in a minute. I specifically want to highlight San Diego's. 2 more games on the docket to talk about before we wrap this one up. The first one is the Mariners and the Astros. The Mariners' offense has been struggling mightily. I think they were losers of 5 in a row coming into this one. But they did score 3 in the first. The interesting part is they scored all 3 without the ball ever leaving the infield. In one instance, Randy Arozarena was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded. So if that tells you anything, that's how they scored their 3 runs in the first. The ball never left the infield. Christian Vasquez did tie it for the Astros with a bases-clearing double in the 2nd inning. Randy Arozarena hit his first home run of the season in the 5th inning, and Seattle scored 4 in the 7th to break this one open. Yordan Alvarez did try to make it a game by hitting a 3-run homer in the 8th inning, but it was the Mariners winning this one 9-6. And the last game of the night was a good one, the Texas Rangers versus the LA Dodgers. For the Rangers, Seager, Langford, and Carter all homered, accounting for 6 of the 7 runs scored by Texas on Friday night. And before we get to the main event for the Dodgers, I do need to shout out Andy Pages again. Baseball's hottest hitter stayed that way, going 3 for 3 with a homer and a double, driving in 4 runs. His average through 13 games is .449. But Friday night belonged to Max Muncy, the longest tenured LA Dodger that is currently on the roster. Max Muncy hit 3 home runs, including the walk-off in the 9th. We'll get to that in a minute. 3 home runs, all solo shots. Went 4 for 5 in the game, drove in 3. Like I said, all 3 homers were solo shots. He scored 5 runs. He passed Steve Garvey for 6th all-time on the Dodgers home run list. I believe 3rd all-time for the Los Angeles Dodgers. So, huge night from Max Muncy. Congratulations to him. It was the Dodgers walking this one off in the 9th on that 3rd Muncy home run. 8-7. But let's talk about that last home run. Why are you pitching to Max Muncy? There was 2 outs, nobody on, tied at 7. He's already hit 2 homers. And yes, there's really no safe place to hide in the Dodgers lineup, but that night belonged to Max Muncy. Don't pitch to him. But you did, and it cost you the game. Dodgers win 8-7, Max Muncy 3 home runs. That is all the action from Friday. But before we get out of here, I want to talk about City Connect jerseys. Let me know what you think about these City Connect jerseys, because I have my opinions. But they were shaped a little bit once I saw some of them on the field. For instance, let's start with the Atlanta Braves. On paper and in photos, I liked the previous City Connect jerseys better. And let me be clear, I'm not a huge fan of the City Connect thing. Some of these jerseys are really awesome, but I'm a traditional guy. You have your home jersey, you have your road jersey, maybe you have a couple of alternates. That's it. I'm pretty traditional. But that being said, I think they're fun. I think there's some that are fun. I think that we've had some that have been really bad and some that have been really cool. I did like Atlanta's previous ones better, but I did like these ones until I saw them on the field. There were some saying that they needed to have blue pants instead of white. I can take or leave that. My problem is, I didn't like that the numbers on the front were blue and the numbers on the back were white. I think that mismatch works for the Dodgers, but I don't love it. Also, I thought the numbers on the front were too small. The hats, on the other hand, I think are awesome. Going to the Baltimore Orioles, I don't like those at all. I didn't like those when they were unveiled. I didn't like them on the field. I think they are worse than their previous black City Connect jerseys, but I didn't like those either. So maybe Baltimore just needs to call it quits. I don't know. Who else? The Brewers, I actually liked theirs. I know theirs got a lot of flack when they were first unveiled, but I think they played better on the field, and that's what this is. Some of these jerseys played better and worse on the field than they did in pictures. And for me, Atlanta played worse on the field. They looked worse on the field than they did in pictures. Baltimore's just bad. The Brewers I like. I understand if you don't. I understand if it's not your thing for what they did. I like them. The other one I want to specifically call out, because not everybody has worn theirs yet. I think Cincinnati wore theirs. I could take or leave theirs because I don't like the graded C that they've used for the last 2 versions of the City Connect. It's not my favorite, so if they keep using that, I'm not into it. The Pirates, I don't love, but I hear that a lot of people are loving those Pirates jerseys. They haven't worn them on the field yet because they were on the road yesterday, so they haven't worn them at home yet. But my favorite on the field, by far. Oh, I will say, when I first saw the Kansas City Royals City Connects, I did not like them at all. I didn't like the blue and the lavender and the grading. But I will say it played better on the field than I thought. I liked it better on the field than I did when I first saw it. Still not a fan, but I liked it better. The number 1 winner, and it's not close, is the San Diego Padres. They know how to do a City Connect. They know how to use the vibe of San Diego and bring it onto the field with these City Connect jerseys. They go all in. The last couple years, they've had the yellow and the green and the pink, and those grew on me. I kind of liked them. This year, they did more of what the Braves have done, where they were inspired by their own past. And, the Padres have gone through several rebrandings over the years with their colors. The early years were the orange, yellow, and brown that they kind of went back to with the last rebranding with the yellow and brown. Then it was navy and orange. Then it was navy and white. So these jerseys called back to that navy and orange. And I loved these on the field. I liked them in the pictures, in the promo pictures. I loved them on the field. I may have to get one for myself just to have, because this San Diego City Connect jersey is among my favorite City Connect jerseys that have ever come out in the few years they've been doing this. I think it's right up there with the San Francisco one from last year. Not the first one that was the white and orange, but the one that looked like the graffiti, the black jersey with the SF Giants. Those two are probably my favorite City Connect jerseys that have ever come out. Let me know in the comments what you think about these City Connect jerseys. Which ones do you love? Which ones do you hate? Which ones did you think looked better or worse on the field than they did in pictures? What teams would you like to see? And give me some concept ideas. I'd love to hear your thoughts on where you think some teams should go with their City Connect jerseys, because these, at the end of the day, are about expression that beyond the team identity. And while I sometimes can be pretty rigid about that, not the biggest fan, some of them, like the San Diego Padres, can have some real fun with it. So let me know what you think in the comments about the City Connect jerseys. And until next time for Saturday's action, I'm Roman Gennaro. This is Empire on Deck. I'll see you there.